the nicest parts of my job isn't actually the sessions themselves. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing the changes happen here in this room here. But every now and then, I'll get an email afterwards. And sometimes those emails are just different. They make you stop. They make you smile. And recently I received one of those emails from a client. And the reason it stood out to me is because of what she'd managed to do. Something that for years, actually about 20 years, she genuinely believed was going to be almost impossible. She got on a plane. And it wasn't just any flight. It was an 8-hour flight. And she did it without the fear that had controlled her for so long. Now, if you've never experienced a fear of flying, it can be difficult to understand just how powerful it can be. Because to someone looking from the outside, it can seem quite simple. You get on the plane, you sit down, plane just takes off. You arrive somewhere amazing. But for someone with a fear of flying, no, that is not the experience. The fear often starts days, or sometimes even weeks before that flight. The holiday might be booked, but everyone else is excited. Instead of looking forward to it, well, your mind starts thinking about everything that could possibly go wrong. What if there's turbulence? What if I panic? What if I can't get off? What if something happens? And that fear can become so real that people avoid holidays altogether. Mandy came to see me because flying had become something that she really struggled with, and struggled with for over 20 years. So after working together, she literally got on that plane the day after the session. Now, before I tell you what happened, she has kindly agreed to share the review that she gave on Google, and I want to share that with you now because I think this will really sum up that change. Neil has been absolutely incredible in treating me for my awful fear of flying. I cannot thank him enough. I struggled for years with flying and last week completed an 8-hour flight with no problems whatsoever. Neil's patience, understanding and professionalism has been fantastic. I had hypnosis and have no issues going on future flights. Now that is a lovely review and I'm obviously incredibly grateful that Mandy took the time to write it and agreed to share it publicly. But actually, that wasn't the part that really stuck with me because afterwards she sent me another email and I think this tells the story even better. So the email started, "Good afternoon, Neil. Well, I made it." And I have to say I love that opening line because when someone has lived with a fear like this for 20 odd years, those 4 words mean a lot. Well, I made it. She then wrote, "I very much had a sense of calm throughout the whole experience yesterday. The flight was absolutely dreadful with turbulence most of the way." Now, if you have got a fear of flying, that sentence probably isn't what you want to hear because turbulence is often one of the biggest triggers. But then she wrote, "But then I didn't seem bothered. And that's something that is really important when we talk about fears. People often think that the goal is to remove every possible trigger. But that's not how life works. We can't control everything that happens around us. Planes will still experience turbulence and things will still happen. See, the difference is how your mind responds. One of the things I often explain to clients is that the subconscious mind is incredibly powerful. It is designed to protect us. And when it learns to associate something with danger, well, it can create a very real response. Because the heart starts to race, your body becomes tense, your thoughts searching for threats in your environment, and before you know it, your mind is treating something like flying as though you're genuinely in danger, even though logically you know you are safe. The interesting thing about hypnosis is that it's not about convincing someone that flying is safe. Most people with a fear of flying already know that. They know planes are incredibly safe and reliable. They know millions of people fly every single day. The problem is the emotional part of the brain hasn't caught up with that information. And that's the part that we work with, helping the mind learn a different response. But there was another part of Mandy's email that I really loved. So she wrote, "I ate before the flight, which was highly unusual for me." Now, that might sound like quite a small thing to you, but actually, for someone who is experiencing a lot of anxiety, it isn't small at all. Because when we're anxious, our body goes into what is known as a survival mode. And eating isn't always something that feels easy. So the fact that she was relaxed enough to eat before traveling, well, it tells you just how different that this experience was. And then she wrote this: "For the first time in many years, I look forward to this holiday." So interestingly, I only found out afterwards that the timing of Mandy's trip was actually quite remarkable, because she had travelled to Dubai, and whilst she was away, everything started happening in the news with the Iran conflict and the disruption affecting all the flights in that region backwards and forwards. So, and I remember thinking, well, afterwards, I thought, well, I hope she made it back before everything escalated. But the thing stands out really for me, though, and she did, by the way. But the thing that really stands out to me isn't the timing, it's what she's achieved. Because even before any of that happened, the biggest obstacle she faced was the fear that she'd carried for over 20 years. And I think that's the message I really want people watching this to take away. If you have a fear of flying, well, you don't have to simply accept that this is the way it's always going to be. A lot of people tell themselves, that is just who I am. I'm just a nervous flyer. I've always been like this. But our brains are incredibly capable of change. The response that has been learned can also be changed. So Mandy, if you happen to watch this, thank you for allowing me to share your story. And thank you for sending that email as well, because I think it gives hope to a lot of people who who are currently sitting there thinking, I don't think I could ever do that. Maybe you can. I'm Neil Cox. I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist based in Cornwall, UK. If you have any questions about the fear of flying, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And thank you for watching.